So obviously we've had a little chat already about my wardrobes, and we talked a little bit about your life before, and I'm intrigued to know why you decided to go into exploring this avenue of Feng Shui. Where did it come from, and how has it led you down this path? It's
Total accident.
really.
Total accident, yeah. Good question, though. It was about 35 years ago. I was an executive on a newspaper, stilettos, suit, the lot. And I was, in a pretty dynamic job, busy all the time. Burned myself out. I was just over 30. Sat and rocked in a corner for a while
Wow. Gosh.
because I was completely burned out. I was doing like 16-hour days and it wasn't good. Um, somebody asked me, somebody I knew who was having trouble with their restaurant, said, would you take over the restaurant for a couple of months while we find a manager? And I went,
Oh.
no, no, not interested. And they persuaded me to go and do it. You need to get out of the house, Lorraine. You're spending too much time on your own. Yeah, well, I quite like that. Thank you. Anyway, I went off and I agreed to doing this. And it was all right. Got it going. I got business started to flow in
Mm.
as they started looking for a full-time manager. Only for my birthday, somebody gave me a book about colour because they knew I was interested in interior design
Yeah.
and that I might follow that next type of thing. So I was looking at it, dabbling, if you like, with my own space. And they gave me this book about colour and the psychology of colour. And I thought, yeah, what a load of tosh. And I was just so cynical about everything
Mm.
energy or anything to do with the unforeseen world, the
Yeah.
unseen world. I just wasn't. I was interested in facts and figures. And so I got into this book and I was thinking, I don't know, does this work? So I started painting the restaurant. And there
Mm.
was a little bar in the restaurant that was used by certain locals. And I discovered that it actually worked. The whole place was a beigey, blandy beige when I
Mm.
went in. When I painted it a really nice baby blue, which sounds a bit
Yeah.
mad, but I liked the colour, it actually changed the atmosphere. People weren't speaking to each other. They were coming in, but they were reading their papers or being
Mm.
isolated. And I thought, well, that's quite interesting. And because usually they're quite a chatty bunch. So I painted it yellow. And yellow stimulates the intellect. And within 3 weeks, there was a quiz night going.
Really?
They'd organised, the locals had organised themselves. There were conversations going right, left, and centre. And I read a little bit more and I thought, I wonder. So I painted the back of the bar orange, not a sort of tangerine orangey colour,
Yeah.
warmer kind of colour. And my food sales went up by 40%. That is the absolute truth. They just rocketed because those colours stimulate the digestive system. So I'm now thinking, this is all crazy. How is this really happening? So there was a guy used to come into the bar in the afternoon. It was open through the afternoon for all the locals. Restaurant was downstairs, and this guy used to come and read his sport in life. Sat
Yeah.
on his own mostly, bit of a cross patch. And he happened to be Chinese. And he turned to me one day and he said, why are you doing this feng shui nonsense? And I said,
Interesting.
pardon me. I didn't understand what he meant. And he explained to me that his parents would not move house without their feng shui masters say so. And they would not do this. They would not do a seating plan for a party.
Mm.
They would not choose a partner for the family
Mm.
without looking into the feng shui. And I thought, oh, here we go again. This is all a load of tosh. Couldn't find any books anywhere. Had to get books through foils in London from America. Anyway, I thought, I'm going to have a go at this at home. So I did. really kind of dipped my toes into
Yeah.
it, and it started to work. And I
When
thought,
you say it started to work, what did you notice when you
well,
started to
what?
explore?
Well, first of all, I started sleeping better because guess what? I had a
Mm.
very, I had a very similar arrangement to a certain person I know who's got wardrobes going above their head. So one of
It's
those
not me.
arrangements with a cupboard over your head. And I took it out and started sleeping properly. I also discovered that I was a hoarder
Yes.
and I kept too much stuff. And I also used to keep stuff under the bed.
Why keep things under the bed?
Yeah, well, I used to keep things under the bed that probably shouldn't have been playing on my mind quite so much, and they were. So old accounting books, old photographs, old memories, all sorts of things. I used to wear stilettos. I never wore flat shoes ever. I'm from a different era to you, completely. And I used to have, nicely arranged shoe compartments under the
Yeah.
bed, and I wore stilettos. So all that pointy stuff under my bed,
Yeah.
always on the run,
Mm.
literally always on the run. And I suddenly realised I've got to learn this stuff. This is
Yeah.
incredible. And because I come from a business background, I used to not record on a microphone, but I would make notes,
Yeah.
constantly make notes of when I did some clearing or when I made some changes. And then I'd look at it again in, say, a month's time and see if anything had changed, because otherwise it's really hard to
You just don't know.
know.
Yeah.
And I recommend everybody does that when they do Feng Shui
Mm.
or any kind of transformational work. So I realised it was actually making a difference. So I knew I had to learn in more depth.
Yeah.
And I was talking to someone at work that night, the day I realised it, and I said, "This is an amazing process. I'm going to chuck design out the window. I want to do this." In the meantime, I'd called somebody, a quite famous Feng Shui consultant, and asked them to come and do a consultation. Now, we got to bear in mind that this was way back in like early 90s,
Mm.
early to mid 90s. I had a 2-bedroom flat that wasn't very big, and she quoted me £500 to do my flat, which at them, in that we are talking, that would be now about 2.5 grand. And I actually said to her, it's not, not, are you a brain surgeon? I mean, what's the value of this? Here's my business.
Mm.
So my friend at work said, "Why do you want to do this?" I said, "Well, I think everybody should be able to do feng shui." And I've always believed that ever since. So I try and make it as accessible as possible. And so I said, "I've really got to learn this." And she went, "Will you stop banging on about this? How much do you need to stop working altogether
Yeah.
and learn this?" And so I gave her a figure. And 3 days later, that figure landed in my lap,
Really?
almost to the penny,
It's your calling.
almost to the penny. I phoned my friend who owned the restaurant and said, "You've got to find yourself a manager now because
Mm.
I need
Yeah.
to go and do this thing." And I went off and I studied for 3 years.
Wow. Where did you study? Did you study in the UK or did you go to China or what did you do?
So I didn't go to China because actually I'd started learning the Chinese method
Yeah.
and I practiced the Chinese method for some time. But what I did was I joined a society where they brought in teachers from all over the world. And these were teachers who didn't just teach the principles of feng shui. They taught about the psychology of clutter. They talked about the psychology of colour, which was, my bag. They
Yeah.
talked about shape, texture. They talked about essential oils. They talked about crystals. They talked about earth energies, so ley lines and the electric, how electricity affects us,
Yeah.
all kinds of subjects that are woven through a decent feng shui practice.
Yeah. To go from, as you said, the role that you were doing before to this completely new way of talking, relating to the world, relating to others, relating to yourself. I mean, it's like, yeah, a huge transformation. What did your friends and family think?
Well, There's a word in the English language called eremission. So
Hmm.
it's the fading from the lives of others. And I faded from many lives because they thought I was completely bonkers. My mother, now this is a term you probably won't know because you're a bit younger than me, but my mother asked me if I joined the Moonies. Moonies were a cult, a really like a religious cult that used
Yeah.
to work on young people and get them to give up their worldly goods and go out and get other young people to give up their worldly goods. And it was the Reverend Moon. If you look him up, you'll find that he was a
I
big
think I've heard of him.
character. And
Yeah.
they were called colloquially the Moonies. My mother thought I'd joined the Moonies. I had to work hard to make her realise that I hadn't. But I also was doing Reiki at the time. I
Interesting.
started doing Reiki at the time because I was so tired and exhausted.
Yeah.
I didn't know it was about that. I thought it was about meditation. And I turned up to my first Reiki treatment and didn't know it was a course. So lots of little things happened that
Little things have,
year
yeah,
that
dropped
I
in.
tripped over.
And it's interesting. I mean, I've interviewed a couple of Reiki masters in the podcast series one. If you, I'll drop you the link, if you want to have a little listen to them. But it's when we said at the start of the conversation, you know, things come to us when we are ready, and we are open to this new way of thinking, and you know, energy plays such a huge role in our lives. And a lot of the conversations that I've had with the creatives that have been on the podcast, we've talked about chaos and this need to feel like we're in the throes of chaos in order to create, but actually Feng Shui is about decluttering and kind of packing away all of that, isn't it? I mean, could you explain a little bit about how decluttering and the Feng Shui principles kind of come together?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, what is feng shui? Feng shui is, they're just two Chinese words. They mean wind and water, which means nothing to us, but it's actually how the world was formed through wind and water. It's about being protected from the elements. That's why we build houses or lived in caves or whatever we did before. But actually, every single culture in the world has its own form of feng shui, and some of the principles are constant throughout. And they only differ where religions or traditions are slightly different. So the reason we call it feng shui is because the Chinese recorded it. They recorded everything. They were well educated. The people who did feng shui were astrologers, astronomers, they were civil engineers, they were doctors, scientists. And they weren't just one of those things. There were many of those things. They were very intelligent people and they recorded everything. So, in a way, the Chinese kind of owned the feng shui world because no one else recorded it really. And in some cultures, certainly in our own culture, things were passed down from female to female, mother to daughter. Things weren't written down. It's law, LORE law. You know, it's our background and we do things automatically through that. So feng shui, the way I describe it is, it's the effect of places and things on people. So it's an outer expression of the inner world. So who you are, if you look around your space, that's directly reflected. It's exactly reflected. So the things that you do, the things that you're interested in, the things that you like, but their effect on you is immense. It's like living in a 24/7 vibrating, pulsating vision board. Okay. So that's what feng shui is to me. And the way that I work now isn't the ancient Chinese way at all, because for a number of different reasons. But the reason that it's interesting when you come to talking about creatives is that that space has to support what they need. So there
I
is no
understand.
point in me going into a creative person's house or a space or their studio and saying, oh, you need to tidy this up. This is terrible. We can't have any of this. Barbara Hepworth would have hung me up and then drawn it. You can't do that. You have to find what works for people.
Yeah. It's the purpose. It's the purpose, isn't it, in the space?
So first of all, the person, then the purpose, then the feng shui. At least that's how I work. Not everybody does. I mean, sometimes the reason people like to hang on to, ancient traditions that are steeped in religions that don't actually have any place in our lives. So you end up with lucky charms and things like that. It's because it's a structure, and that's what I was attracted to initially. When you think about who I was,
Yeah.
I was attracted to this method and this absolute structure. But now I know that I can blend so many different formats of feng shui together
Yeah.
and come up with something that suits that person and suits their purpose and will alleviate the issues that they currently have.
Mm.
Now, the reason that clutter's so interesting
Yeah.
is because people they can hoard stuff and they can hang on to stuff, but they don't actually realize what that thing means to them. So they don't regard it. The problem is that clutter is invisible junk.
Yeah.
We live in kind of these invisible junkyards
Mm.
because we no longer see it. We no longer feel the vibration of the object,
Yeah.
but actually the body and the psychology
Yeah.
of the person is affected by it
Yeah. On a
completely.
very deep cellular level. I mean, I'm thinking now, so as you know, obviously I'm renovating. And so we've had a little bit of work done recently, and there's been quite a lot of stuff that's been brought back into the house from the garage. I'm talking memory boxes, I'm talking old clothes that we need to get rid of. We have a little one, so we've got baby clothes and toys that have migrated back into the house. And and it's quite an open space downstairs. We've got quite a large entranceway, but it's full. It's full of stuff.
Yeah.
It's full of boxes. My other half paints Warhammer, so he's got all of his painting stuff there. And although when I come into the house, this is supposed to be the space where I go, but instead I end up going, why is all this stuff still here? I can't move forward. And I'm sure there'll be people listening today that be thinking the same thing. Got stuff in the conservatory, the kitchen, the place really that I've got stuff tidied away more often than not is the lounge or the kitchen, because I can put things where they need to go.
It feels like you have control there. Yeah. And there are ways to ameliorate all of that. And remember also that untidy doesn't mean clutter. Untidy means I live here. I've turned up at somebody's house to do a feng shui consultation and I can hear the hoover and somebody say, she's coming, she's early.
I think your work is incredibly creative.
Yeah.
So when you start working with a client, whether it be a family or whether it be somebody at work, although we'll talk about workspaces, I think, later on in the episode, because I think they're very different, aren't they? Each space is different. But how does your creative process start? You're turning up to somebody's house. What are you looking for?
Well, first of all, I turn up at somebody's house these days mostly online
Yeah.
because it's easier for them and actually people find it less intrusive
Mm.
because they imagine that I can't see as much. Wrong. But I can still feel it. I can still get I still get the essence of it.
Mm.
And I always start with the person. So I simply open to what are they telling me? So I use my ears, I look at body language, and I'm interested more than anything at the beginning, well, obviously right through, but my first encounter with somebody is about what do they need? What's the issue here? Because they may call me and say, oh yeah, we've got money issues. And I get to talk to them and it's not money at all. It's something entirely different. Or there'll be a cause that they haven't thought about to do with their money, or they'll be blocking it in some way.
Yeah.
Or they're in a habit of thinking they haven't got enough money. They just haven't realised that actually they're doing all right.
Yeah.
And so sometimes we get, this is the interesting thing about energy. Sometimes we get stuck in a pattern, and our places help to perpetuate that pattern. So, because you've got situation where you've got things coming in and out of the house that you've had in your house before and then were in the garage,
Yeah.
they weren't in your life. As far as you were concerned, not here, not my issue at the moment. I'll deal with that when. But now they're starting to trickling through the house. They're affecting you.
Mm.
I'll bet you any money that you walk through that house in a different way than you used to before that stuff arrived. So whereas you may have come in with your chin up and you're thinking forward, swinging your arms and feeling a little bit more fancy free, now your energy is caught by
Yeah.
things that are stuck in your hallway that you see
Mm.
instantly. And down comes your energy. And what happens when your energy comes down is your eyes cast down, your chin cast down. You stop
Mm.
receiving from the mothership because you're
That's
not
it, the higher
getting,
energy.
you're not you're not aligned to the heaven and earth. So, which what might sound a bit crap to some people, but excuse my French, but it's so
Love it.
important
Yeah.
to remember that, to be grounded and aware. And if you've got things around you that are just dragging you back, and that's where they stay, we create that pattern and we create that energy. And so we get stuck and we can't see it anymore.
Mm.
So that's why it's so important to see around people's houses. And that's
Yeah.
why it works so well online.
Because they can just guide you through it, each room, and then you're looking at, the layout of the room, I suppose, and the textures or the
Absolutely.
colours that they're using.
What's interesting also is that I give them an exercise to do, which is don't go tidying up and stuff, just leave the place as it is. Go and take some still photographs, because still photographs tell a story much better than a moving video, because it's a snapshot of. So take a photograph of where you sleep, take a photograph of your front door, both looking out and looking in. Take a photograph of your hallway. So if you think about it, you spend a lot of time asleep. I tend to concentrate around front door and hallways because that's where all the energy comes into the house.
Yeah.
So at first we recognize and try and pull in really nice positive energy. But then if it comes to the house and it all goes, what's the point?
Honestly, Lorraine, I did take a picture of my hallway this morning, my entranceway, because I thought I'm going to send it to you because it is just there's bikes, the scooters, there's the desk. Those people that are listening, I'm going to suggest that you do this. Go and have a look around your house and take these photographs and just look at the space that you're in, because you will start to acknowledge actually what is in your space and what you are holding on to, blocking you.
What you're putting in your way, literally,
Yeah.
physically. And that's the interesting thing. Well, the very first thing that I found so acutely interesting was with my own stuff, and that is that it was tripping me up, holding me back. And the release when I started to shift it, getting past all the things. I mean, I hoarded magazines. I loved magazines because I was into interior design. I had
Of
every
course you
interior
were.
design magazine on the planet. And they were expensive.
Yeah, they are, aren't they?
And I had loads of them, several years worth of them.
What did you do with them?
I gave them to the library.
So when you were talking about recording, what did you notice in that first month once you'd got rid of the magazines particularly? Was there anything that really stuck out?
Ease. Because when you have a lot of things like magazines, it's a lot of information. And also it's a lot of aspiration. And you think, oh, well, I can't give that away because there might be an article in there that I'd like. I went through a phase of cutting out the articles and putting them in folders as well. I mean,
Really?
yeah, because I didn't want to let them, it was a
You
struggle.
just, it's, yeah.
I come from a line of hoarders. And, interestingly, quite different hoarders, but we'll come to that.
Mm,
It's just release. So first of all, I started getting rid of them from the bottom of the
yeah.
pile. And every couple of days, I'd just, take 20 out.
Wow.
I couldn't do it all at once.
No.
Couldn't. And bear in mind, I had my spare room was a room that you could open the door, chuck something in, and then shut the door. You couldn't get into it. I was dreadful. But that's, no wonder I was so confused about where I was going.
Why do people hoard?
God, loads of reasons.
Because my other half's a bit of a hoarder.
Yeah. Okay. So when they look at something, certain things come into their mind. So it can be an attachment to where it came from. So it could be it's a mug that is chipped and it's no good anymore, but your son made it for you when he was 3, or it was left to you by Auntie Maud
Yeah.
or whoever. So there's that personal connection.
Yeah.
There's that cost me so much money. And even though I don't use it anymore, it's such a waste. And it's gone. That money has gone. And if you're not willing to, you need to be willing to sell it or give it to somebody who will use it. So why do we hoard? Why else do we hoard? Because we can, because now all we seem to want to do, we live in a society and we are encouraged to have the latest this or that.
Yes.
I had a client last week and she had 9 air fryers
Wow.
and they all worked.
That's a lot of air
It's a lot
frying.
of air fryers. It's not a big kitchen. It's not a big kitchen. And she reckoned she used them all. No way she used them all. She had to move air fryers to get to an air fryer.
But it's kind of having the latest model of that product, isn't it?
Exactly. Well, I got this late. So I started with the latest one and said, why did you buy this particular air fryer? I mean, it's lovely. And yeah, I'd love to know about your air fryer. Why did you buy this particular model? Well, with this model, I can steam as well. Well, do you steam? No.
But
So
it's the option. She has the option.
she has the option. She does. She has the option. I think she's probably got 3 now. We whittled it right down.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. But that's because I think we need to realise that we live in boxes. There's only so much room in the box. If you had a box for, let's say you've got one shelf that you keep all your rice and pasta. If
Yeah.
that shelf is full of rice and pasta, do you go out and buy more rice and pasta?
More often than not, yes, I do.
But what's the point?
I don't know. Just
If
in
you
case I
could
run
see
out.
that rice and pasta, you probably would.
See, this is something that I've noticed recently because I went into school to declutter all of my props and costumes and arrange them and organize them. I was finding things that I had no idea I had. And it's because they are stuffed in boxes that I can't see
Yeah,
into.
yeah,
And so I bought a load of clear boxes, and lo and behold, now I'm like, oh, yes, I feel so much happier about the space that I've organized because I can see everything and I'm not going to duplicate things. I've got 15 mustaches. It's all of those things. But I think at home, if I'm thinking about clutter, and those people who are listening who've got children perhaps, or pets actually,
God, yes.
making sure that they cannot see the toys, put them in a basket, put them in a box, put them in the storage unit, whatever you've got, put them in the wardrobe so you can't see them. They're still there. And then you end up going out buying another dinosaur
You
because,
do.
you can't see all the dinosaurs that you have, or, the leads or whatever it is. It's being able to see everything in your space will help you be clearer about what you want, what you don't want, what you need, what you don't need.
Yeah. Well, I have a saying, love it, use it, or lose it. If you don't love it, it's got no business being in your house. If you don't
Love
use
it,
it,
use it,
or lose it.
or lose it.
So people also hoard because they can, because they've got
Mm.
a big house and they can fill it up. Or they've got a big house and they need to fill it up. So it's a substitute for other things. And so there are a number of loads of different reasons why people hoard. And you know, you've probably heard of Swedish death clearing.
Yeah.
You know that. So that's a system whereby it's something that's thought of as really, really useful, that people actually go through their stuff before somebody else has to go through it for them.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm
Because
definitely going
that
to do that.
pain of doing it, and having had to deal with two lots of elderly parents
Yeah.
and their stuff, it's really difficult. So, yeah, I think it's quite a good habit to have.
Could you just outline how
Yeah,
it's linked to the elements and why it's so important to find a way to get them into the house or the workplace?
yeah. Well, the feng shui principles are built on a number of different um, techniques, shall we say, and they
Okay.
all interlace together. So we've got the thing about we need a clear space. You asked the question earlier, why do we need to clear our spaces when we're doing feng shui? Well, because it allows us movement, and because it allows us to free our minds, and because it's nicer to be in a space that's fairly well organized. And if you're a creative and you need a mess, have a
Mm,
mess. But I'll bet you any money you know where things are.
yes,
And
more
if
often
you
than
lost
not.
your 2HB pencil, you'll know it's somewhere in this mess in front of you. You last had it, it was behind your ear, and you went to the loo. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of,
Yeah.
that's how creatives think and work. So it's also
Yes.
important to me to understand how people think and work, and also about taste and
Mm,
style. So if you hate red, there is no point in me saying what you need to do is paint that wall red, Lucy. And you
yeah.
kind of go, okay. And then I know you're not going to paint it. I know it's not going to happen. So it's important that there's honesty there, and they go,
Yes.
no, I'm not doing that. Or that I recognize it somewhere. So why are there lots of different things? So there are elements, and the elements that we use is something called five elements, which is it's from the ancient Chinese tradition of medicine,
Okay.
um, also based on the I Ching, which you may have heard of, which is a book, ancient philosophy about how everything moves and changes. And it's kind of, you've got the yin yang in there as well, that whole
Yeah.
movement of things. So nothing is entirely yin, nothing is entirely yang, nothing is entirely black, nothing is entirely white. So the elements are slightly different to our own. We've got earth, fire, water,
Yeah.
and air. And in
Yeah.
Chinese elements, we've got water, fire, metal, earth.
Mm.
And can you guess the last one?
Water, fire, metal, earth. Oh, I think I even
You
wrote it
probably
down.
won't. It's wood.
Wood.
Yeah. Tree energy. So, tree energy is about, if you think about a tree, it's got the roots part, which go
Yeah.
deep into the earth and they take up nourishment.
Mm.
It grows this amazing trunk for stability and it shoots up into the sky. And then it's got this fantastic, far reaching energy of
Yeah.
shoots in the springtime and growth and vision.
Yes.
Okay, so that's one type of energy. And then earth, people think, oh, yeah, the earth that flowers grow in. But the earth in Chinese philosophy is any form of the ground. So it could be rock, it could be a mountain,
Yeah.
it could be stone, it could be sand. Okay. Then you've got metal, and metal energy is constriction. It's all about when things compress.
Mm.
And so you've got precious metals. What
Yeah.
happens in the earth when it compresses
Yeah.
creates precious metals, and precious stones like crystals.
Mm.
So it's called metal. And then you have your fire energy now, fire. You've got lots of different forms of fire as well, but it's very fast moving. It's inspirational. It can spark, it can flame, but it's also quite wild and uncontrollable. So we talk about fire when we're talking about people's outward energy,
Mm.
personalities, their vibrancy, what they're known for. They're in a fire, okay?
Yeah.
And the visibility as well. Water, lots of different forms of water. We've got the flowing, bubbling brook style water, which is usually what we like to think about in terms of feng shui. The best form of water energy is
Yeah.
that kind of winding, bubbling brook, gently tinkling
Mm.
waves on a shore type energy, cleansing, refreshing, always moving. But then you've got waterfall, you've got hurricane type,
Yeah.
tsunami water, water that pushes and can create chaos.
Mm.
You've got water that freezes and solidifies and is unstable. So there's all kinds of different forms of water. So each element, have I missed one out? We've done water,
No.
we've done fire, we've
Yeah, you've
done
done all of them.
water. So each element has a story to tell in the feng
Yes.
shui table and the feng shui world. And some objects actually represent that. So a piece of crystal will represent your
Mm.
metal
Your metal.
energy,
Mm.
and the type of crystal is usually what it's known for in the healing world,
Yeah.
energetic form of it. So, for
Mm.
example, we'll use citrine, yellow citrine, for wealth, and it's seen to be, it's known for its qualities to bring wealth in, but also if you look at it, it's got that kind of glow inside it,
Yeah.
summer glow. Or we'll use rose quartz because it's soft and it reminds us of romance.
Mm.
And also, it's a soft, literally very soft crystal. I had a lady once, because I advocate putting crystals out in the full moon, don't arrest me. Put my crystals out in the full moon.
It's a gorgeous moon yesterday,
It
last
was,
night.
it was. Well, it was 8th, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Full. So out went my crystals on the 8th. But I was teaching a long time ago, and this lady had a whole load of rose quartz. Put it out in the garden. Only she didn't put it up. She didn't put it anywhere particular. And she said the squirrels ate my rose quartz.
No.
They munched away at it because it's soft.
And
Yeah.
will certain personalities be drawn to one of those elements more? Or is it better to have like a real mixture of those in different rooms?
Okay. Well, first of all, we've got something else in our toolkit, and it's called
Okay.
a Feng Shui Bagua. Have you heard of that? If you've done any,
Bagua. I saw that in the research actually, but I didn't know what it
so
was before.
your Feng Shui Bagua is a diagram with 9 segments on it, and each segment relates to an area of life. Now, each of those segments will also relate and is paired to an element. And some of those areas are paired to the same element. Okay. So Earth has 3 of those elements. It kind of lives there, but in different forms. So it lives there in its stone, it lives there in its soft earth that will fertilize our flowers and vegetables and help us to grow. Yeah, there's fertile, there's the kind of soft romantic side of the earth, so the nourishing side of it.
Yeah.
There's the earth that helps us to grow things, and then there's the rock. Okay. Solidified version. The crystal energy and the metal energy, there is one. Fire owns one. Water owns one, and there are actually 2 with metal, but there's one is
Mm.
quite soft and one is quite hard and far
Mm.
authoritarian. So
Right.
each element belongs to part of the bagua, which we lay over the house. And that bagua, it's quite an interesting thing. So we lay that bagua over your house, and we can identify which aspect of your home relates to which aspect of life.
Wow.
And we can lay it over your home, we can lay it over a room, we can lay it over your face. We can people read hands by
Yeah.
using the bagua. So it's quite an interesting little plan. but it relates to your 5 elements. It relates to the I Ching. And it's quite an interesting thing because as you can probably imagine, coming from where I come from, I question everything.
Yeah.
Or I did question everything. I now kind of go, oh, yeah, okay, I know that works. So when I go into someone's home and they say, we've got money issues, and I look at their money area and I think, or the traditional money area, and I think, nah, it's not here. And might be that they're blocking the flow into the house.
Yeah.
So that's caused that. But it could be that actually on their floor plan, there is no money area. It's the shape of the house.
Okay. Yes.
So within certain aspects of Feng Shui, we balance that out.
That makes sense.
Okay. So each one has its leaning. Okay. It has its own leaning, but we also bring in other elements to support that.
Yeah. So getting out those floor plans would be a great start.
Oh God, yes. Always get an accurate shaped floor plan. It doesn't have to be perfect. It does need to be fairly accurate.
Yeah.
For us to get a good idea of what's really going on. Now, the other thing that I would say that where I differ from some traditionalists in terms of Feng Shui is that I also feel that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay, so if someone has a missing relationships area, but they clearly have a healthy relationship, they clearly have healthy relationships in their life, and then they're happy with that. They're not looking to improve or change or make a difference. They want to leave it alone, then we leave it alone.
Yeah.
And we only
Yeah,
look
that makes
at it
sense.
if things become dodgy.
What is the best way to start piecing together lots of different aspects of somebody's life, creative life, when they're trying to sort of align everything and everything just feels a little bit, well, not grounded?
Yeah. So for me, grounding isn't just to do with the earth, it's to do with the heavens as well. So top of the head, bottom of the feet. And the first way I do that is probably got nothing to do with Feng Shui at all, is to go and stand on the grass, go and stand on the sand, or go and stand on a piece of concrete, but stand on the ground outside with both feet firmly on the ground and align your spine if you can. If you can't, sit on a chair and align your spine, but with your bare feet on the ground, and make sure that your neck is and head and back are completely straight. And just, tap top of your head, tap the bottom of your feet, just get that. Get that whole feeling of being connected to up there, string through your head and
Yeah.
down through your feet. Get that connection and I do that every day. I get out every day and connect to the earth because it isn't just the earth, it's the whole thing.
It's the whole thing. And I think so often we are busy getting people up in the morning, rushing off to work, and we've got stuff to do. But actually, all it takes is
You don't
2 or
need
3 minutes. You
no,
don't need long, do you,
no.
to go outside and do that?
And if sometimes it's about hand on your belly, hands on your heart, and just, this is
Take a
me.
breath.
Here I am. Couple of deep breaths in and out and connect. And then start your day. Where would I start? I start outside, always. I start outside the house because the energy that comes into the house, the quality of that energy that comes in through the house is so important. And that's a whole, when I'm teaching, that is kind of 2 lessons. It's a big subject, but top tips to really get some new energy flowing at your front door is to go out and have a look at your front door and actually connect with it, because everything comes through that front door.
Yeah.
The post, the deliveries, the people, the information, all comes through that front door. So go and stand in your porch or your hallway or just outside your front door and take a picture
Yeah, I'm going to.
and think, right, what do I need to do here? And if you want to just say to yourself, right, I'm just going to make a start on this journey, clean it. Go out
Mm,
with a bowl and some water and a cloth or two and just wash it. Wash the door, wash the porch. Look at the doormat, go and shake it out. My mum used to clean her doormat and her porch every single Monday morning, and she could never tell me why she did it. She did it because her mum did it and her gran did it and la 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 la.
yeah, yeah.
But they did it because it cleanses the energy. Now, if you go on holiday to Thailand and you don't, stay in a big complex,
Mm,
the first thing you hear when you wake up, I'm told, because I haven't done it, is people sweeping
yeah,
because they're getting rid of yesterday's energy and they do it every morning. But, we haven't got time to do that. So every week, get out there and just give your front door space a refresh and connect with it.
yeah. I mean, we do the same with sort of like tapping the body, brushing the body,
Yeah.
kind of releasing the energy. So yeah, it makes sense to do that
And then
with
what
that
happens when
space.
you do that and connect with it? I mean, I actually talk to my space. When
Yeah,
I'm cleaning my front porch, I go, hello again. What have we got? What have we got
yeah,
today? And if I've got spiders, I leave them because
absolutely.
I
I always
like
leave
them.
them.
I love a bit of goddess energy. Old cobwebs are clutter, by the way,
Yes, I've
because
got plenty
nobody
of them.
lives in them. Unless
But if there is a little spider, you're supposed to leave it.
Spidey's building, that's okay. Um,
Mm,
Clean it, just water. If you've got crud and muck, get rid of the crud and muck, but then just rinse it off with clean water and literally do the front door. Like, think, yeah, my energy comes through here. Shake out the mat. The doormat takes up so much energy. If you come home stressed, angry, carrying loads of shopping, all the
yeah,
things you bring into the house come across that doormat.
yeah.
Go and find yourself a really nice doormat that you like.
I'm going to go out and buy one today.
And make sure it's big enough.
Yeah, because we do need a new one.
Take the measurement because, and I sound so didactic when I say that, but actually, take the measurement. Think, what's the nicest possible size that would fit
Yeah,
here? And don't go home until you found one or look online until you found something that you really, really like. Our doormat says Croeso because we're Welsh. We don't live in Wales at the moment, but yeah, reminds us of home every time we come
yeah,
home.
exactly. Exactly. And we talked right at the start of our conversation, you were talking a bit about color theory. And I was wondering whether you could just sort of explain, how color plays its role in Feng Shui.
Each aspect of the Bagua and each aspect of the energy that we were talking about, the 5 elements, has certain colours that are associated with it as well.
Mm,
But the reason they're associated with it is to create a kind of energy around it. So if let's, for example, say that we are looking to improve our visibility, we want a new job or something, or we want to be a speaker or
yeah,
whatever it is, we want to create our visibility. So we'd go and we'd work on the fire aspect,
yes,
which is also known. There are lots of different names for these aspects of the Bagua, but they all kind of mean pretty much the same thing. So we'd go to the fire aspect, which is also known as fame, illumination, visibility. So it's the aspect we go to when we're thinking about, yeah, I want to become known for this. It's who you're known for or what you're known for. And obviously the colours that are associated with fire are red and purple, hot colours.
yeah,
But what if so you could put something there that represents a hot colour, or you could find something else if you didn't like red or you didn't like purple, or it looked a bit jarring in your space and doesn't work because then it doesn't flow. Then we look at texture and shape. So the shape that works for fire are irregular shapes that reach upwards because that's the shape of fire, or pyramid shapes.
yeah.
Okay, now pyramids are really powerful in Feng Shui. I use a pyramid. I'll show you my pyramid. I know you can't see it on the podcast, but
That's okay.
this is my pyramid. So it's copper.
Wow. Yeah.
It's a red metal. Okay, so copper. It's got my 3 citrine crystals in it, because
Yep.
3 citrine crystals are for wealth. So I'm charging those crystals inside this pyramid. It's my wish list.
Yes, I can see. Yeah.
Okay, so within that, and I'll describe it. It's a rosewood base, square base, and on it is a copper crystal that's been made out of copper tubing with a little cap on the top. And the dimensions of this are exactly the same as the ones in Giza.
Okay.
So the dimensions are exactly the same, and the power and the energy is immense coming from these. And I put my little wish list in there, my little prayer
Nice.
for the week or the month,
Yeah.
depending. And I'm charging some citrine in there at the moment, but I can charge my essential oils
Yes.
in there or anything else that I really want to do. And that
Mm.
lives in my fire area because it's the shape of fire. Okay.
So does each space around your home have are they linked to different elements then?
Yeah, because each
Mm.
aspect of the Bagua is linked to different elements. But it doesn't mean to say that, let's say you go into an area that represents water, it doesn't mean to say you have to have water there. But
Yeah.
if things aren't going right in the area that relates to the water, such as
Mm.
one of the elements, so water relates to the journey aspect. So this is how life happens. It's the doing. This is what we do in life. This is our footfall in life. It's how we
Yeah.
progress through life. So think of that little windy river of life. We'll work on that aspect if there are lack of opportunities, if there are people feel that they're stuck. Okay. But it's not just that aspect of the Bagua that could be stuck. It could be the energy coming into the house that is stuck. Okay, so that's another reason why we look at the front door. And that's why it's good for creative people to look at the front door, which is probably the last place they want to look, because they want to go off and do whatever they're doing. They're writing, they're painting, whatever it is, they're thinking, they're reading. But the front door brings the energy into the house. So that would always be, the outside of the house, the location of the house, balancing all of that. And the front door energy is where I would start. And then I would look at the hallway and the
Yeah.
stairways and the passageways, because those are the veins of the house.
The veins of the house. Yeah,
Those
that makes sense.
carry that energy through the house. So how
Mm.
do we get energy from one end of the house to the other end of the house?
Mm.
How do we get energy upstairs? So we look at that. The shape of the house and the architecture of the house is also really important. So, for example, if I open my front door and I can immediately see a staircase, that
Yeah.
indicates to me, usually I've got people who are tired, or they've got a situation where they get lots of opportunity in, but they fizzle out really quick.
Mm.
Nothing sticks.
Mm.
That
Interesting.
also happens when you've got front door, back door. It's not the end of the world. We've got fixes.
Yeah, but I think that's it, isn't it? It's just about being aware of the space that you're in and reviewing it and working with somebody like you so that you can guide them through that process. I feel like I could talk to you for the whole day, but I'm wary of time. And at some point, my other half's going to bring my little boy back. I would like to do a second installment with you, if that would be
Yeah,
okay,
let's do
so that
business.
we can, yeah, let's look at the
Let's do
business
work.
side of it and
Yeah,
let's do workspaces,
yeah,
because
absolutely.
very often creatives, yeah, they work at home, they have a space at home, but they're also creatives are also working full time in employment, and that's nothing to do with their creative endeavor.
And
So, how can they bring all of those energies and those spaces together so that they feel like it's working for them and not
yeah.
against them?
And I also find that a lot of creatives, they want to paint, they want to write, they want to do the things that they want to do. But then they've got tech, they've got accounts,
Yeah.
they've got to pay the bills. Life happens. And so it's really important that they have a space to work in one way and then a
Yes.
space to work in another way,
Yeah.
because they won't work as one, because you're asking too much of the space.
Yes, that's true. And one of the questions was about different types of clutter. So digital clutter, emotional clutter, paper. So we could break all of that down as well for the
Yeah,
listeners. So yeah, listen out for part two, I would say.
definitely. It's a huge subject, and you've done really well
Yeah,
to shut me up. It's my passion. I'm
not at
so
all.
lucky
It,
to be able to do my passion, and that people allow me to come and play, because really, I take it very seriously, as you can probably imagine. But for me, it's, oh yeah, let's do this. My passion is their success, their little wins. And when they send me an email that says, "Yay, I got that job," or "God, I can't believe how different I feel," or "I slept all night," whatever it is.
yeah.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.